Higher Consciousness, written by Professor Hilton Hotema. This book was first published in 1962. Hilton Hotema was a 20th century American alternative health writer, esoteric author, and mystic. He authored numerous books on dietetics, fasting, as well as cellular regeneration, longevity, spirituality, alternative medicine, and ancient wisdom. Hilton Hotema shared his insights into how humans can live longer by learning the body's simple requirements of breathing fresh air, avoiding animal flesh, and by gradually lessening the amounts of food consumed. Hotema firmly believes that breathing fresh air and consuming organic fruits and natural organic liquids alone could extend our lives. He disclosed that what kills at an early age is not the illusion of time, but rather overeating, breathing in toxic, unclean air, and elements such as electronic radiation, dirty electricity, and medications. Man's Higher Consciousness is a must-read for any health-conscious individual. Hilton Hotema clearly explained that modern civilization is a result of human devolution.
Devolution.
We can reverse the degenerating process by releasing ourselves from artificial desires and the economic burden. You might not agree with. You would say we are much more advanced in technology today than we were 100 years ago. It's okay if you see this technological development is an evolution. I just want to emphasize that these so-called high technologies are just very physical level development. Spiritually, we've lost many faculties since thousands of years. We call that high-tech. Humans have been descended too low, so that we call that high technologies. Actually, human consciousness is not ready to master some of high-tech. That could be destructive to all of us. Eventually, the AI technology is very mature in the backyard, beyond average belief. We need very sharp discernment to judge which technologies are convenient, which are not, for a holistic, balanced human evolution. As Man's Higher Consciousness is a book written in 1960s, its English grammar is slightly different from today's English. That's why I've made a subtitle. But I share with you an occult way of learning, that you don't have to rely on words. Words are just a physical manifestation of thoughts. The thoughts of a person come from his spiritual sphere. When you can read one's thoughts, you can connect with one's spiritual level. You have to empty yourself from the mind. Disable your intellectual brain. Be receptive to the energy, the thoughts of Hilton Hotema, the author. He was not an ordinary man. He was very spiritually evolved, and his soul came from very high spiritual dimension. If we open our eyes and read the book word by word, unavoidably, more or less, there is a part of our intellectual process that is active. Remain us in a physical level of learning. That's one of the reasons why audiobooks are more and more popular. When you close your eyes, your nervous system is more relaxed, and you can be more receptive to the information beyond the words. The voice and the sound diffused by the audiobook is a kind of a conduct to make you connect with the higher astral plane from where came the knowledge of Hilton Hotema, the author. While you are fully receptive, you just drink the information without reading physically the words. If you ask me why this could be possible, I give you an example. Have you seen some advanced Qigong practitioner? Could be any other occult science practitioner. They just put a fresh orange on their navel. A few minutes later, the orange is deflating. Its skin becomes crumpled. The orange has also shrunk. What is happening is the practitioner is absorbing the orange's vitality by his navel without passing through the digestive tract. He doesn't need to eat physically the orange. No digestive organ needed. But he can get fully the vitality of this orange. Now I think you have an image of occult learning. It's an intuitive learning process. Of course, when I made the audiobook, even English is my second foreign language, I pay attention that the narration would release the energy of the book. Anyway, I try my best. It's not perfect, but I don't think an AI voice could conduct high-dimension message. Remember, AI is not a creation from high dimension. So I leave you here. Enjoy the first chapter of Man's Higher Consciousness and share with me your comments. Lesson 1. Physical Perfection. Physical perfection would be physical immortality. And Herbert Spencer formulated the law of physical immortality as follows, to wit: perfect correspondence would be perfect life. Were there no changes in the environment, but such as the organism had adapted changes to meet? And were it never to fail in the efficiency with which it met them, there would be eternal existence and eternal knowledge. Breatharianism is physical perfection. Man came into physical existence a perfect breatharian. God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living entity. Nothing was lacking, and nothing more was needed. The breath of life supplied all the requirements of animation. The breatharian needs air only, and nothing more. To sustain his body in the state of physical perfection, man has no other wants. The less man needs, the more he becomes like God, who use nothing and are immortal, said the ancient masters. Poverty, want, and sickness are the work of man. They are the products of his habits, which correspond with his desires. He increases his burdens as he multiplies his wants. The less man needs, the more complete he becomes. He gains perfection as he gains freedom from all wants. The more wants he has, the less complete he is. And the farther he inclines from perfection, he changes his world as he changes himself. Breath of life. Every living thing must breathe the air in order to live. The tree breathes the air through its leaves. The leaves are in this sense the lungs of the tree. Insects breathe the air through tiny openings in their bodies. Frogs breathe the air partly through the skin. Fishes breathe the air by taking oxygen out of water as it passes over their gills. Men breathe the air through the air cells of the lungs. Hardly anyone understands the science of breathing, which all should know and practice. It is the air that renews our blood and brings life to all our organs. It is the air that helps to give us balance and to keep our physical and psychic functions in good order. According to Professor Edmond C.K., most people use only a third, a quarter, or even a fifth part of the lungs' total surface. Modern man is the degenerate descendant of the breatharian. During the millions of years that man has inhabited the earth, his environment and the many habits he has formed have forced his body to adapt itself under the law of vital adjustment to many evil conditions and harmful substances in order to survive, all of which are foreign to the body and injurious in character. Stages of degeneration. Every fact of living existence, the law of vital adjustment, the evidence contained in the ancient scriptures, all prove without an exception that modern man is the product of descending evolution, devolution. The scanty evidence that has survived from the remote past shows that modern man has slowly descended through the 5 stages. First, breatharianism. Second, liquidarianism. Third, fruitarianism. Fourth, vegetarianism. Fifth, carnivorism. Breatharian indicates a plant or animal that neither eats nor drinks and subsists entirely on the substances contained in the air. It is surprising to know how many such plants and animals there are. The Spanish moss hanging on the trees of Florida gets its own substance from the air and grows very fast. The big cactus plants on the dry, barren deserts of the southwestern part of USA get their substance from the air, their roots serving as anchors to hold the plants in place and complete the life circuit. Magnetism. In our work, The Nutritional Myths, we stated that no chemist can find in the ground in which grows a giant tree the ash, minerals, carbon, wood, and the chlorophyll contained in the body of the tree and its leaves. Nor does a tree consume the soil in which it stands. If so, as evidence of such consumption, a depression should surround every tree. A large tree weighs tons, and all the earth still surrounds it that was there when it was a small spot. The roots appear to serve only as anchors to hold the tree in place and complete the electromagnetic circuit of life. If corn or wheat is planted in moist sawdust around a magnet or lodestone, growth is promoted without adding more elements. No real relation appears to exist between the elements in the soil and the plant. Examination shows that plants contain elements which never exist in the soil. They are supplied by cosmic rays. It is the general belief that crops consume the soil in which they grow. Jan van Helmont did not believe it. In the 17th century, he weighed the soil he put in a tub, then planted a tree in it. At the end of 4 years, the tree was 6 feet high and weighed many pounds, but the soil in the tub weighed the same. The growth of the tree resulted from the elements supplied by cosmic rays. There must be ground connections in the case of plants to complete the life circuit. Ground connections are necessary to complete the circuit for electric instruments. Trees grow not in certain areas, nor grow well in what is termed poor soil. They improve if given proper fertilizer. To make the circuit effective, the right minerals must be in the ground, and there must also be moisture. It is not the tree that needs the minerals. They are required to supply the conditions necessary for proper electromagnetic action. You know more about motorcar batteries. When the battery weakens and runs down, it is recharged. The recharging process does not infuse electricity into the battery. It only changes the chemistry of the battery fluid. All hibernating animals are complete breatharians during the weeks they sleep in winter. A fasting man who takes only water during his fast has simply added liquidarianism to breatharianism. That's the path back to physical perfection. In our work, The Nutritional Myth, we referred to cases of those who are reported to live without eating. Mrs. Nathan Nash, who had eaten nothing for 7 years. Teresa Newman, a German mystic, who had taken no food nor liquid for 40 years. The press of May 3, 1936 mentioned the cases of Srimati Giribala Devi of Patricide in Bangalore, India, the sister of Babu Lambada De, pleader, as a woman who had taken neither food nor water for 56 years. The account said, "She takes nothing, not even a drop of water. She is always joyful and looks like a child. She does not pass stool nor urine and does her housework like any other woman." This woman was reported as being 68 years old, yet she looks like a child. This appears to be getting close to the law of perpetual youth and eternal physical existence. One physiologist states of what man eats, the only parts that do and can enter his blood are the gaseous and fluid elements. All the rest is nothing but waste that passes through the bowels as feces, playing its part in overworking and weakening the stomach and bowels, with constipation afflicting practically the whole nation. There are very few folks who are free of stomach and bowel troubles, and the markets are flooded with worthless and harmful remedies for these disorders. From spiritual potentiality to physical actuality, scholars hold that in physical perfection, man was entirely free of all wants and desires. The needs and requirements of his body were fully supplied by the pure air of his perfect environment. That perfect state was a condition precedent to his coming into physical being. It was the cosmic perfection of his environment that made possible his evolution from spiritual potentiality to physical actuality. It is an established fact that something cannot come from nothing. Man could not become a physical entity had he not existed as a spiritual potentiality. There must be a precedent for every subsequent, a cause for every effect. The cause, whether first, last, or anywhere along the chain of causes, must be the comprehensive equal of the effect. The stream cannot rise above its source. If the rivulet can flow but an inch higher than the sufficiency of its course, there is no reason why it should not climb the mountain top and increase by the force of its own intensity, as is said of disease. No effect can produce its own cause. The universe could not create itself, which is equivalent to the admission that no part thereof could create itself. Universal existence is eternal existence. What appears as the physical world, which we call nature, is the materialization of spiritual potentialities. Had man not existed spiritually, he had never become a physical reality, and his appearance as a physical entity is conclusive proof of the perfection of his environment at the time of his physical beginning. That environment had to and did possess the perfect powers and requirements that evolved man, not from an ape, but from spiritual potentiality to physical actuality. It fulfilled every need, every demand, every requirement of his physical being. Had anything been lacking, it had been fatal. The way to improve physical man. Advanced scholars point out that there could have been in man's physical beginning no unfilled wants, otherwise physical being had been impossible. They show that the only way to improve physical man is to reduce his wants and decrease his economic burden. But physical science is not interested in any cause that raises man to a higher plane. For nothing must be done, nothing must be allowed to happen that will disturb or derange the fixed social order of civilization. This order is the product of ages of planning and scheming. It depends upon and is sustained by man's wants and desires, and the constant effort made to promote and increase them. To that end, all education is directed. Every branch and department of civilization leads away from perfection. The movement away from perfection begins with the child in school and continues all through life. The so-called Civilized View. On January 12, 1951, Frank W. Abraham, chairman of the board, Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, made an address before the National Citizen Commission for Public Schools, and his address was published and widely circulated. Among other things, he said, "There can be no doubt that we are talking about something very fundamental to business when we talk about education, if only to maintain and expand its markets. The business world has at least as big a stake as anyone in the achievement of an educated, productive, and tolerant society. There is definite correlation between education and the consumption of commodities. Education has done more to create markets for business than any other force in America." This is the orthodox view, and according to that view, the purpose of education is to maintain and expand the markets of business, and to create a demand for commodities. To that end, billions of dollars are expended annually in the education of the children of America. The constant cry of commercialism is to consume more, create new markets and new demands, promote the production of commodities, employ more wage slaves, increase the economic burden. Why the truth is suppressed? The art of scientific living is so lightly regarded that it receives no attention. He who is so far ahead of the multitude as to oppose the social pattern is promptly silenced, disgraced, and liquidated. And the press carries large headlines proclaiming that an enemy of social progress has been found and jailed. The deceived multitude believes. One's teaching may be in harmony with God's plan of life, the law of perfection, and the science of cosmic economy. But that teaching does not harmonize with civilization's artificial world, nor supports its social pattern. Therefore, it cannot be accepted or supported by any institution or any form of government. It must be suppressed for the good of the people. Tell us how long man's created wants and unnatural desires will mean money for commercialism. Then we will tell you how long man will remain in his present condition of slavery. Economic freedom. It is interesting and important to note that as man moves back toward primal perfection, his wants decline and his economic burdens decrease. We thus learn what these burdens are and whence they came. We see them as the product of man's created wants and unnatural desires which perfect man had not. Man has produced them, and he can destroy them. It was not until man began to form habits and adopt practices which created wants that he began to decline and degenerate. He was deceived, as he is now, by the illusion of progress. As he developed new habits that increased his wants, he considered then, as he does now, that each invention was a mark of progress, while he and the doctors were puzzled by the fact that his health continued to decline and his lifespan to decrease. Economic freedom is the first step back toward man's highest state of primal perfection. Every animal in its native state has economic freedom. Man is the only economic slave on earth. He has made himself such by his unnatural wants and acquired desires. In complete freedom from every want, to be dependent upon nothing, man's mind and senses are under control. He is released from the consequences of action, which are bonds and chains, binding down those who are the slaves of want and desire.